Okay, we're going to open this meeting at 7:10.
The date in the...
Today's April 24th. It's approximately 7:10 p.m. And if we could call a roll for those that are here. Ooh, I got
Ms. Toll? Here. Mr. Metzen?
Here.
Chair McLaughlin?
Here. And you are?
Our Student Robertson Gardner staff.
Okay. And just as a note that after this meeting, the Historic Review Board will be having a work session.
Yeah, it was previously scheduled at 6 o'clock and it'll be moved.
Okay. So I am going to the agenda and we're going to start. Is there any public comments on items not listed on the agenda? And obviously we have no notes to talk about. So we're going to get right into the Preservation Grant Program. We're going to start with Preservation Grant 12-2, 536 Holmes Lane, porch and window repair. If we can let staff do their thing.
Thank you, Chair McLaughlin. This is PG 1202, our preservation grant.
There we go.
And this is a preservation grant for a porch repair to the Rose Farm, which is located at 536 Holmes Lane. And if you, also known as the Holmes House, if you recall, the grant program is generally used for two different types of projects. One is window repair and storm window installation. The other is porch repair, siding repair, or the replacement of missing architectural elements. This kind of falls into the secondary category. The applicant has turned in some bids for some larger projects, but indicated in the grant application that they're just asking for matching funds for the porch repair, and they'll pursue any window repair or storm windows at a later time. What I'd like to do is show you some photographs of the existing condition that were turned in by the applicant, showing the front porch. And at this time, the applicant would like to choose the contractor who provided the bid, John Huffman. If you can see on the second page, he spelled out apologize. Not John Huffman. Go back. Cherryville Construction. And what I've asked Ms. McGriff, the applicant, is if she could provide to staff, or if the Historic Review Board wants to see it at a meeting, additional information on this contractor's background in historic buildings. With the window repair program, we have kind of a pre-identified list, and when people utilize these window repair contractors, we generally know the quality of their workmanship. With this contractor, we don't have much background on how they have worked on historic homes, and so as a condition of approval, I'd like to add that the applicant provides background information and prior work that this contractor has done, and you can either choose based on her testimony this evening, plus additional information she provides to staff, or you can request that this be continued to next month in order to get that information. So based on the background information you receive, you can indicate back to staff how you'd like to proceed with that. But I would like, for the record, to have more background information on this contractor's experience. But porch repair generally does meet the requirements, so I think it should be processed in our matching grant, which is up to $1,000 50-50 match. So I'm here to answer any questions, and I know the applicant is here to answer any questions. And this is the McLaughlin Memorial Association, as the applicant, and Denise McGriff is speaking on behalf of the McLaughlin Memorial Association. And if you have any specific questions about who they are as an organization, I will defer that to Ms. McGriff.
Can we approve this with the stipulation that she brings this extra?
Yeah, you can. I would recommend that you listen to her testimony and then decide if you wanted to have it as a supplement material that's provided to staff for the record, or if you need to have more information before you can move forward with a recommendation of the grant. And I'll leave that to your decision making.
Okay. Alrighty.
All right, that's what I have. So I'd like to bring up the applicant.
Come on up. Name and address.
That's fine. I'll stay here.
You can have the computer. Good evening. For the record, I'm Denise McGriff, and I am the treasurer of the McLaughlin Memorial Association, and I'm also treasurer for the Rose Farm Management Committee, and I'll explain how those two organizations work. Our address is 713 Center Street, just on the opposite corner, and our offices are located in the Barclay House. The McLaughlin Memorial Association took deed to the William L. Holmes House in the late 1980s, and it was deeded to us over 3 years' time by Ruth McBride Powers. And many of you probably know a lot of her work around the state. This was just one of the many structures that she rehabilitated and saved from dire destruction. The Rose Farm, as it's known as, but its real name is obviously the William Holmes House, was, as you know, was built in 1847, and it's one of the older homes. We noticed that we needed a lot of little repair work done on the property, but due to financial constraints, we are only able to do it in small bite-sized chunks. And because we'll be opening at the beginning of June, the porch is really our first priority. It's where all the guests come up and go into the house, and it's been having some major problems. We had, unfortunately, an incompatible repair about 5 years ago where one of the straight grain fir boards was replaced with pine, and we didn't know that. And it, of course, has already started to deteriorate. Luckily, it's not in an area where many of our guests are walking, so it's on the upper end of the porch towards our kitchen door, as opposed to right near the front door. I met Jim from Cherryville Construction when he was asked to give a bid. Unfortunately, our president of the Rose Farm Management Committee, Mike Jarrett, is unable to be here tonight, but he was going to be here and talk about Jim because he has worked on his own home. And I'm trying to think of what Mike's address is. It's the McCowan House on Jefferson Street. And Mike and his wife have been in the process of restoring that and doing restoration work for, I'd say, probably 15 years. But I would be happy to get additional information about other work that Jim has done. He gave me a sort of a verbal overview, but I don't have any documentation, but he said I could get anything I wanted from him. So we would like to request approval of the grant for the porch, and we are okay with the condition of approval.
So Jim is with Cherryville Construction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't find on any of his stuff where his CCB number was.
We have that.
Do you have it now?
On me? No.
Yeah.
We would not hire anybody who
Sure.
did not have a CCB number, and we have been down that road. Not us personally, but
but
we
it's
were
not my
aware of a
place.
situation involving a CCB number.
Yeah, and I mean, legally, anything.
No, we know, yeah.
Any documents that
yeah.
anybody has for any type of bidding and stuff legally has to have a CCB number on
Absolutely.
there. And I had time, I probably would have gone to the website and do it, but and I'm sure the guy's licensed.
That can be a condition of approval if you'd like to add it. I can
It
do a
should be
step.
on his letterhead. It should
Yeah.
be
Yeah,
his
somewhere.
business
I
here
just
card.
pulled
showing
this stuff
Should
off
be
of
on his
his,
business card, really.
off of his website.
legally. Yeah. So that $2,900 is more than just replacing the fir boards. It's just kind of doing all this other stuff.
Well, he's putting trim, the trim back on the end, and he's going to do some repair. I noticed when I was there yesterday that the steps from the yard one of them is broken, which, I don't know how that happened, but it is, so he's going to repair that. And there's one area, there's what do you call it, is a facing board. This porch is like this, and then there's a fascia board on the front of it. At one end, which was behind a large rhododendron, which has now been removed, we found some dry rot there, so we're going to take most of that off and put new back on.
So do you have a painting bid to paint this?
We have a painter who basically painted the backside of the house for us, and she said that when the porch was redone, she would come and paint it as part of our bid that we already had.
Gotcha.
So there won't be any additional expense for that.
Were there any structural items that need to be replaced?
Not that we know of. I think when they were there, I did not crawl under the porch, but they did. Mike and Jim did. I decided I was going to decline crawling under the porch.
Okay.
When we have the boards off, we'll check all that as well. Not all of them are going to have to be replaced, but a good number of them have problems.
Probably gonna be
And
worse
that's
than we
unfortunately
think.
due in part to the fact that several previous Rose Farm Management Committee members really, like I said with the Pine Board, really were unaware that you needed to match like for like when you were making replacements.
Yeah. On this front porch step, there looks like there's quite a bit of deterioration, and it's starting to creep into the other one as well. Almost looks like it was cut in the middle and two pieces put together. Are you going to stretch a piece all the way across?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Believe me, Derek, some of the repairs that have been done in the past were not done to what I would call a preservation standard and was done out of expediency. So we are probably going to be going back and making some corrections to a lot of some of those inappropriate repairs that were done. We have a large barge board on the back that needs to be, there's a little bit of dry rot in it. We discovered there was a hole that somebody just put caulk in it and then painted over it. And we did not know that.
Yeah. There was a big discrepancy in the bids.
We noticed that too.
Did that raise any flags, or were there some questions asked?
I know John Huffman personally from
Okay.
Blue Sky Builders. He has done work on my own home, and I asked him about that. His labor is a little higher. He has two people that he works with, himself and another person, and I think that was the additional cost. And I mentioned to him that his cost was so much higher than Jim's.
Okay.
Did he have an answer for you?
Well, he said that, he uses top quality materials, and I said, well, you're both using, kiln-dried fir, no cheap materials here. It's just, it's labor.
Okay. Yeah, because usually half of it is labor. The cost of a bid is
The
generally half
materials
labor and
the
half
materials are not
materials.
going to be cheap for this.
No, but it couldn't just be labor, the difference there. So I was wondering if it's, let's see. I want to make sure.
You did say post and beam or hem fir, kiln
Yeah,
dried
and
lumber.
that's really
You
all
can't
we were
get
going to do. We just asked him to give
hem
us
fir,
prices for
kiln-dried
everything so we
lumber
can
and
start
beams
saving more money.
posts.
If you
Unless
look at the
special
second,
order it.
if you look at the second page, the comparable cost for the Blue Sky Builders front porch is $32.50.
Mm-hmm.
And Huffman's 3, is that right?
Yeah,
Okay, so
Those aren't too bad. That's-
yeah, it's not too
True.
far apart.
29,
It's the
14.
back porch is the one where they're going to have to take all of the boards off, because I think there is one of the supports might be having an issue, but people don't go back there, and we have that blocked off, so that's not anything that we're going to do right now. I said the front porch is the high priority because it's got the traffic.
that's true, and that's all I should be looking at. I apologize. So those are pretty close. Yeah.
I think I don't see a problem with anything unless staff wants to have more information on the builder that could go to the staff level.
And I'm comfortable if that's what the recommendation is, but I would like to have a little more background information for the file.
Yeah.
We'll get for her.
I'd agree with that.
I agree with that.
I think, I could make a motion to approve this with the caveat that more information would be supplied to staff regarding CCB number, background information on working on historic structures so that it can be in the file for future. That would be my motion.
I
Unless I
second.
need to say something different. Okay, so then we have a second.
All right, this is for PG 1202, conditional approval
Sorry, I
of
should have said that.
536 Holmes Lane, or 915 Rylance Lane, which is another, the new address, excuse me, for this property.
Actually, that address is the address of the Dr. Daniel Stevenson.
Oh, is it?
house. It's 915 Rylance. They do have separate addresses.
Yeah, and then you got your, yeah, okay,
Sorry,
536.
Yeah, for the
Holmes.
Rose Farm Holmes house.
Yeah.
Mr. Metzen?
Aye.
Say it with gusto.
Mrs. Toll.
Aye.
Aye. Chair McLaughlin.
Aye.
All right, the motion is carried.
Thanks, Denise. Okay, next on the item 12-03, 18598 Aladdin Way, storm windows.
Thank you. All right. So this is an application from the applicant who just recently purchased the McCarver House, and they're looking at installing some storm windows on the historic portion of the house. The new addition has new double pane windows, but the main part of the house has the historic single pane and has been noticing some moisture issues and wants to try to resolve that and also do the added benefits of storm windows. He has submitted two bids, which are, one is for an interior storm window and one is for an exterior. And you'll see in your packet the Indo window, which is a new product that's come out recently, which I actually went to a preservation event and he had his kind of whole setup, and it's actually a pretty fascinating product. It is a pane of glass that has a rubber gasket around it, and you basically just, they'll measure to fit your window, put the gasket on, and then you just kind of push it in, and then it's held in place. And which means it is a benefit of you can take it out seasonally, you can take it out to clean. It's very easy to store,
And that's on the interior.
and that's on the interior.
And so, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I mean, he was in the paper a
Mm-hmm.
week or so ago, but so once those are in, you can't use your windows.
No, so
Like a-
most people don't open their windows from November to, March or April. So yeah, for people who opening their window is not a value to them.
Right. Yeah.
You could also take it out in the summertime and just use a temporary, window screen that you open up and put it in if you just want to have that kind of summer pass through. And that's eligible because we had always identified that interior and exterior storms up until now, there hasn't really been a cost-effective interior storm window that kind of the general public would do. Usually the interior storm windows are more traditionally civic or big commercial buildings because they have these amazing windows that they can't put exterior on. So this is a new exciting product. And the other proposal is a traditional Truax wood storm window. The only thing, they both qualify. And to this date, we haven't kind of sent people down a path of which one is better because we've never had this. Personally, I like the idea of the Indo for this property because there are divided light windows. It'd be nice to keep that profile.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're in a position to say that we want it or not. But this is a grant, so you could choose to say you don't want to pay for. They could do it by policy, but that's something you could choose to do. This is your grant program to prefer the Indo if you wanted to, but that we'd have to kind of go up down a policy of why we'd want to do that. My gut instinct says don't obscure these beautiful divided light windows, but up to this time we've allowed applicants to pursue both options because we always feel that the benefits of an exterior storm window is you're protecting the historic fabric of the window from the outside effects of storm and rain. But the downside is with all that protection you get some obscuring. But on the inside you don't get the obscuring, but you lose some of the protection. So there are bonuses for both sides.
You know, when I go to that applicant submittal on document, it takes me back to the first grant. It's like you've highlighted Aladdin.
So this picture that you're showing in the kitchen,
Yeah, for some reason that was sent by the
can't get
applicant, and the way it's saved, I apologize. But what he's showing is he's on the left hand side. He's taking the single pane window with the gasket, and he's just walking over in the second window, showing how it's pushed in.
and it goes in, it comes out as easy as it goes in.
Yeah, it really does.
So in case of fire, you could just. pick
Well,
it
I
up.
don't want to comment on that aspect, but it's very easy to put in, take out, and that's one of the bonuses is
And it's
for the
glass.
average homeowner.
Yeah.
They can seasonally.
No, they don't have to
kind
risk
of-
their life putting on storm.
No, they don't
windows.
have to get a cherry picker. They don't have to get a ladder. You can seasonally
Did you say it's
install
glass,
your
though?
windows.
Plastic or
Plastic?
glass?
No, it's glass.
It's glass.
Not even
Yeah.
plexiglass, huh?
No, it's glass.
No, I think it's a good product, and I
Yeah.
like the fact that once you put it on, you can still open up a bedroom window and get out. That which you can't have with an exterior storm window. So
She's bashing out.
So, and they're not bad priced.
Yeah,
So,
and
you know,
yeah.
I'm
I think it's a great
I'm a
option.
big fan. The moment I learned about them, so.
Well, I was looking on the documents to see the bids, but I can't open
Yeah.
that.
So right now, the bid for, and it's behind, if you want to right toggle on your screen, you can see above you, because I have it up. I have the bid right now.
Oh,
So if you
he's
take
got
your
it.
little-
He's got it.
It doesn't open.
No,
That's why I
if
said-
you right toggle your screen,
I see it
Sure.
now, yes.
Oh, okay,
But I'm
sorry.
saying when I went to go
You
to
didn't open it?
documents, it
Okay.
shows up on the first grant.
okay.
So I see $5,500.
So we're just matching the first 1,000
Yeah.
to a max, so.
But I was
um,
curious on the Truex what that bid was.
I'm sorry, the Truex was first.
They're like $1,000.
6273.
Got it. Yeah, I know the money part. I was just curious. Okay.
So, I'll leave it to you.
Groovy. Okay.
And if you have any questions, the applicant is here, so
Oh,
you
okay.
can bring him up if you'd like to
Yeah.
ask him any questions.
Do you want to come up?
What's the name of that company?
Indo.
Indo?
Window, window.
State your name and address, please.
My name is Curtis Gutman. I live at 18598 Aladdin Way.
Which product do you prefer?
Well, I'm torn. We actually had the Truax quote. There was a Wooddale quote, which I was going to ask because the Wooddale quote's here for the exterior, but that's the price of Wooddale. But we included the
Oh, okay.
Truax just to make sure it wasn't. I'm still thinking about it. I mean, the windows are beautiful, and I hate to see them get destroyed. And I put the Indo windows in. I think I'm gonna lose some life on the windows on the other side, but
Some light, did you say?
life of the windows. The wood is gonna. I mean, it's just gonna wear out quicker on the outside. I like protecting them. You know, at
Oh,
least
I
for the
see.
storm season. But then I'm weighing. I really like the fact that they're beautiful and you can see the.
Depth.
Yeah.
The depth.
Yeah. So
It's pro and
I think
con.
I'm leaning towards the Indo window. I'd still like to have some time to think about it if I had the freedom to choose. You know, my only concern about the Indo window is, you know, besides insulating properties of adding storm windows and, you know, saving energy, was that they were getting condensation on them in parts of the house, the insides of the windows. And so, and I asked the window store about that, and they said it's just the difference in temperature from outside and inside. Obviously, I can increase the heat and circulation in the home, could help mitigate some of that. But I'm looking so I don't have to heat the entire home, you know, all year round when we're not in every room all year round. So my only concern is that the Indo window will help me mitigate that. I want to make sure it doesn't, you know, if it's still getting water inside on the actual wood frame windows with the Indo window, then I'd probably go with the outside window. So I'm going to investigate that, and I want to probably go and visit the company and try and get some references and see people who've used them. And if they say that they work great, then I'm probably going to go with that one.
I guess I look at it as you know, the storm windows, they protect the window from the outside, and that helps. These windows, I see you know, you get a nice view of the window. Storms do more than just insulate; they protect. Especially these windows that are pretty old. So there's pros and cons. I can
Yeah.
see it, and I think if, from a staff level, if we look at it as, you know, both are fine, then that's going to be up to you, I think. And we can basically make a motion to approve it and giving you the option, you know, because they're both viable.
I don't think do
But-
we need to know before we approve what he's gonna,
No, I did
who he's
have-
gonna use?
One other question, though. Christine had mentioned some water problems or some moisture. Was it the Indo window that you were referring to, Christina, or?
He had some blinds. Why don't you tell a little bit of your blind story?
Yeah, they're in the house currently on probably about half the windows on the old portion, which is the 2/3 to the north of the property. To help with the insulation of having single pane windows, they installed some kind of special insulating blind. It's like a thick blind that pulls down and it makes like an insulating curtain.
Okay.
And that's what the previous owners put in instead of storm windows. And it seems like a good idea, but in the dead of winter, what happens is that no airflow gets behind them between those and the window, and it just gets moisture on the window on the inside and it runs down and it's getting the windows wet. So every morning I'm having to get up and dry them, you know, because we don't want the water to sit on them all day.
Okay.
So that has to do with the previous blinds that are in now. If I put in into windows, those all have to come out. If I do storm windows, those could stay in place.
And
So
there's-
are you the second owner since Handress did this?
I believe so.
Okay.
So there's no chance of any moisture getting between the Indo window and the,
That's what I don't know. I would love to know that. If not, I think they're probably an awesome product for
Yeah.
historic homes. I just
that would
don't
be
know.
that would be the key question, because those regular windows, they sweat when there's any kind of heat in the back
Yeah.
of them.
Oh,
And
I-
if this keeps the heat from hitting those windows, that's what you have to make
No,
sure.
I guarantee you moisture's going to get back there. It's going to come through.
Somewhere.
It's gonna come through and get
It's
trapped.
going to get through the window and then get trapped because condensation happens where
Yeah.
the cold meets the warm air.
That would be my concern.
That's what I'm thinking. And I guess I was, you know, I'm not a scientist, so I'm not for sure how that exactly works, but I was thinking if it was a very small leak and a small amount of air in there with the endo window, maybe it wouldn't be enough. Maybe we'd just get a mist, like a fine haze
that-
on it, but not actual drops of water coming down. That's what I didn't know.
Well, the moisture's coming from the exterior in rather
it
than the
is,
other way.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was drawing moisture from inside the house onto the inside window.
No,
No.
it's coming and hitting it. So with the storm window, you know,
stays
it's not
outside.
gonna
Ah, okay.
It stays
Yeah.
outside.
And that condensation happens outside rather
outside
than
instead of on the inside where you've got that pocket created.
in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pros and cons, man.
Yeah, I know. I really just want to make sure the windows last, you know, a good long time. I mean, I don't want to replace them in 15 years.
And this is the problem with the new product is you're choosing whether or not to be a guinea pig. And if you make the wrong choice,
That's true.
it could happen that you have, you know, a mildew problem or some black mold kind of happen, and it just happens very small around the edges where, you know, the jam and the sash meet. And then in a couple of years, it's like in the window and you can't really do too much to fix it. So that's something to take into consideration when you deal with that. And you can't paint over it.
No.
So,
Bleach doesn't
so
fix it.
I don't know how we. I mean, ultimately, that's up to you. You could also be on the onset of a product that could have serious repercussions down the line, and you were, you know, right out of the gate, or you go the safe route. And
Well, I was thinking I could call the company and see if they have some clients that had them, you know, before this last winter and give references. I imagine they would. I don't know.
yeah, but
you could-
to get the certain situation like what you have to compare, it'd be tough. I mean,
You could also go on the internet and see if you can find anybody that's been blogging about this.
Yeah. Or you could view the grant matching as a opportunity to get the tried and true.
Yeah, if it
At the
doesn't
same
work on
price.
mine, I mean, if
Yeah.
they were still getting a lot of water on the windows with the end window, I'd take them out and I'd have to do it again a different way. I mean, that's
yeah, it's
what I'm
money.
trying to
though.
fix. I'm trying to
Well,
fix
I
the
mean-
water on them.
I mean, you could try and maybe get one. I don't know.
Yeah, but
thought
then you're
about
into
that.
the winter
Yeah.
and you
Thought about that. I could do one and wait the winter, but
Then you've got to wait a year.
that's a long time, and that's, you know, once the winter hits, it's
More heating.
yeah. Any experiment, I guess, either way.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
The Park Service has experience with inside storm windows, and he could call over and talk to Heidi at the McLaughlin.
Does the McLaughlin House have them?
We have inside storms. They're not Indo, but
Similar.
it's a similar style window. She could give you the name of the.
That's a great
person who
idea.
does the Restoration work and find out what their findings have been with the inside storm because they just repainted everything.
Yeah, and that's been a couple years,
Yeah.
so there's been a test of it anyway.
So imagine an indoor window and a storm window are probably similar in the amount they block out air. I mean, it seems like, because even an outside storm window is not sealed.
We don't want sealed.
It's almost like
Yeah.
You know-
I mean, neither of them are.
inside out scuba gear, you know? Because it's just the opposite way of what, anyway, I don't know. Okay.
Yeah, so as far as a thermal rating, they're essentially the same. You know, you get a little bit more of a thermal rating with the wood around the outside. I mean, I'm really geeking out here. But the majority of it is glazing. And what your thermal rating is increased by is the air cavity in between the existing window and your storm window. And that's really what provides that buffer. Because heat doesn't pass through that as fast. So whether
wind.
it's on the inside or the outside, it doesn't matter as much. So, but then you get condensation issues and whether or not you want to protect the existing windows or keep the view. So that's a different discussion. So
Okay.
I would move for approval.
Okay.
I would second.
All right, this is approval of PG 1203. Storm windows at 18598 Aladdin Way. Ms. Toll?
Aye.
Mr. Metzen?
Aye.
Chair McLaughlin?
I.
Motion carries.
Okay, we have a public hearing. So I have to read something. We'll now commence with a public hearing on agenda item HR 12-01, 18598 Aladdin Way, for the approval of a fence height. The criteria for approval of a land use action are contained in Chapter 17 of the Oregon City Municipal Code. The proposed development must comply with applicable provisions contained in the City of Oregon City Comprehensive Plan. Generally, unless otherwise noted, if a request is found to be consistent with the municipal code, it is considered consistent with the comprehensive plan. If you wish to participate in this hearing, including challenge for bias or conflict of interest, you must complete the sign-in form located on the table somewhere over there and deliver it to staff. Please do so immediately. The chair will only recognize those who have submitted completed forms. Testimony will be taken in the following order: applicant, testimony in favor, testimony in opposition, rebuttal by applicant. When recognized by the chair, please come forward to the podium, give your name, address, and make your statement. All testimony, arguments, and evidence presented regarding this request must be directed toward the applicable criteria or other criteria in the plan or land use regulation which the person believes to apply to the decision. Please address only the applicable criteria for the decision. Please do not repeat testimony. If you wish, you may choose merely to agree with the previous speaker's statements. An issue which may be the bias for an appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals shall be raised not later than the close of the record at or following the final evidentiary hearing. Such issues shall be raised and accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the Commission and the parties an adequate opportunity to respond to each issue. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision makers and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue precludes appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Failure of persons to participate in the public hearing either orally or in writing precludes that person's right of appeal to the City Council or LUBA. Written testimony submitted prior to the hearing constitutes participation in the hearing. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues related to the proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the decision maker to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in the circuit court. Prior to conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing, any participant may request an opportunity to present additional evidence, arguments, or testimony regarding the application. The Commission shall grant such request by continuing the public hearing pursuant to the standards contained in ORS 197.763. Do any of the board members have a conflict of interest or ex parte contact regarding this application?
No.
Oh,
Anybody visited the site?
yes.
Yes.
Yes, but not for a while. Okay, let's start with staff.
All right, thank you, Chair McLaughlin. This is a pretty straightforward request tonight, but the reason that it is coming from the board in a formal application is while this may be allowed, this kind of fence may be allowed if it was not an historic home per city code, because we would have seen the side of the house be considered the front of the house. By the historic standards, this, what would normally be the side of the house, we see the front of the house. And so on a staff level, I was unable to approve a higher front fence in the front yard, and felt that this needed to be sent to the Historic Review Board. I'm going to give you a little background. As you recall, the McCarver House was reduced to the lot we see now as part of the subdivision application. It originally had a driveway that kind of went straight down to Warner Parrott. The final layout of the subdivision kind of changed the orientation a little bit, so we worked really hard to make sure that the front yard stayed pretty hefty in front of the McCarver House, so we still got the understanding of that the front of the house was where the front door is and not the side elevation along Aladdin Drive. And what the applicant would like to do is take a portion of the front where I've indicated in red up here on your screen, and propose either a 4 or 4 foot 6 inch fence to enclose this back area into the rest of the backyard. And he has proposed as part of this mitigation a landscape planting plan, which would have large shrubs that would be in front. So you wouldn't get a full expanse. You'd have kind of shrub, view the fence, another shrub. It would kind of be, it would break it
Broken up.
So it wouldn't be all shrubs and it wouldn't be all fence. The larger question, normally it would be a 3.5 foot fence would be allowed per our Historic Review Board code, and every single fence proposed in Mr. Gutman's application would technically meet the Historic Review Board policies. So tonight, what you are really tasked to do is determine if A, the requested fence height still able to keep a larger front lawn feeling of the McCarver House, so it's still that feeling of where the front is retained, and if there's a particular fence, because he's now asking kind of for a modification, you can give him direction to if there's a particular fence you don't want to see constructed, or if there's one that you'd rather have, you felt be more compatible. You kind of have that authority now because it's being requested. And on a staff level, I felt moving from a 3.5 fence to a 4 foot fence seemed reasonable. I wanted to go back to the board about your opinion going from a 4 foot fence to a 4.5. And then the one fence that I did not recommend approval for, was the one that had the scallops.
I agree.
Can you get to the
Sorry.
fence stuff? There you go.
Or this middle one.
I just took a drive over there a couple days ago and looked around. All the fences over there don't have that scalloped edge.
And what the Historic Review Board policies basically says, a wood fence is a wood fence is a wood fence. We haven't gone into the detail of the design of the wood fence.
Yeah.
And just to show you this picture right here is a prime example. The abutting house that's just to the north of the McCarver House. This is kind of their side yard fence, and it's your traditional 6 foot fence. And so this is, to your right of you, is kind of the top corner of his yard.
Right.
And so this is kind of the idea that the fence would kind of match up to
Yeah.
what exists already. And this is the neighbor's fence. So if I went back to my map,
Yeah,
the
where was
neighbor's
that?
fence is about right here, where my hand is. Is that about right?
Actually, it's just a little behind where I'm asking for the 4.5
Okay.
foot fence. So
So it
I'd
starts
go
about
maybe
right-
to 5,
And then
5.5,
return back to
and
his.
then up to 6. Stagger it right up to there,
Got it.
so it'd match.
Oh, right here. And then you would stagger down. No, but where
No.
does hers start? Hers
Oh,
starts.
well, here, I'll show you. The one you just looked at, it goes from the corner and it ends about right where the hand is. Well, maybe right about there. So there'd be another maybe 10 foot section I would build out to the 4 foot and stagger it down, so it doesn't just drop from 6
Right.
to 4.5. So it'd look up, hopefully.
Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with that at all.
Christine, is there a fence that, can you go back to that drawing?
Yeah, sure.
Sorry.
The drawing or the fence
drawing.
selection? Yeah.
Where it's in purpley pink? What's back there?
Oh, this is my highlighting, right here.
No,
Well, where it
over
continues
there.
over.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
back there?
So by code, what's allowed, there's nothing right now.
Nothing now.
It's the neighbor's backyard, but by code, he could start a 6-foot fence here. He could be 6 foot, 6 foot, 6 foot.
I got
That'd be
you.
allowed today. So that's kind of, I'm letting, my suggestion is, that he can do that at any time. That it's really this section, what is he's requesting the modification for.
And just to add with that going on the south side of that property, I don't want to bring the fence that high, that far out, because I don't think it'd look good in the neighborhood. I mean, because my neighbors on the right of me, it'd be like they're in my backyard. So I'm pushing it back a little with a 4.5 in the front on that side, and I want hopefully a 4.5 on the other side, so that it's got the continuity of, the same front fence from one side to the other, just so it looks good for the neighborhood. As you come down Aladdin Way, it goes past my house and then down to the right. So a lot of traffic comes straight forward, to that corner. And I want it to look, obviously not like a backyard. I want it to look like a front yard like the rest of the houses on that street.
Well, now that we've jumped ahead to the testimony. of the
Yeah,
applicant.
so we still have the ability for a public to make testimony, but right now, if you look at my conditions of approval,
Yeah,
the only one I have automatically, I definitely recommend a 4-foot fence. I think adding an extra half a foot height with
It's no biggie at all.
landscaping plan is very reasonable, so I'm going to kind of defer to you for the other half foot. And then the recommendation for the not to do the one specified
Right.
fence. And then also more importantly, that this approval runs with the property. So the next owner doesn't have to come in, or if there's a fence gets repaired, it can be, don't have to come back for this. But what I would work with is an understanding that this fence height is in conjunction with an agreed upon landscaping plan. So if a future owner comes in, they can't like denude the front and just have it all fenced. So they would, in order to meet this condition of approval, which does run on the land, they'd have to either meet or exceed the same kind of landscaping plan. It doesn't have to be exact, but it has to be kind of a like for like thought process, which is larger shrubs intermittently placed in front of the front of the fence to break up the mass.
So, if we did do this, would these stipulations be included in any real estate documents?
No, it's a land use decision, so we don't record. But this is explicitly, even though land use decisions run with the land, I want to make sure I had a condition of approval that explicitly said that, so there was no misunderstanding about that.
But any purchasers of his property? how are
Well,
they gonna find out about it?
a private disclosure by the seller.
I see.
But it does run, and those are land use issues that don't. It's not
okay.
solely this issue.
Are there any more questions for staff?
I don't have any.
Okay, then I'm
Okay.
gonna
We have,
turn this over to the applicant. If you want to state your name and address again, please.
Yeah, my name is Curtis Gutman. Live at 18598 Aladdin Way.
Did you want to add any more to what you had said, or?
If I could say anything, it would just be summing up the 6 points I submitted. If you guys have read them, then I
Yeah.
don't want to repeat them.
Okay. Okay. I did. Okay. Is there anybody in favor or in opposition or neither out there? Okay. Then I'm going to close the public hearing. And I look at it as there's enough landscaping there that even at 4 foot, 4'6", it's gonna be taken over by landscaping more so than, to me, 6 inches isn't gonna be a deal breaker in my opinion. But that's me.
That's me too.
What's your thought? That's yours, yeah.
I'm inclined to say 42 inches, actually. I think that would be better.
3.5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But up to 4 would be okay. I think The landscaping plan is very attractive. The plants there are probably going, I guess I don't know how large are those, can I ask?
I mean, I had the list of plants there, and I'm
Pretty involved.
I'm not an expert, but the guy who I worked with, which was Big Sky Landscaping,
Oh,
he made it
okay.
sound like they were going to go from, like 5 foot, 4 or 5 foot stuff, and then bigger ones that were like maybe, I don't know, 10, 15. Sound like so then they go back down small. He had them kind of drawn in there where there's some larger ones.
I want to open this
But I
back
think
up.
most of the fence gets, you'll just see pieces of it here and there.
Do
was
we
the
know how
idea.
far that fence is from the property line? Do you know, Christina? Like from that, is it
Oh, the setback from,
just from property line to that red line?
on the Aladdin Way property line.
Yeah. So like
can find that out.
20 feet, 30 feet, 40 feet.
It looks like 50.
We don't know the size of the
50?
lot.
Yeah, it's 2/3 of an acre, the whole lot, and I don't remember the exact
It's fairly
measurements, but
That's
Deep.
nice size, yeah.
I mean, I'm just curious, within a few feet.
Yeah.
If it's too hard, then
We have the technology.
In any case, I wouldn't,
I only look
I
at
wouldn't
it.
recommend a 4 foot 6 inch fence.
You wouldn't.
No.
I only look at 4'6" because I think the vegetation's going to overtake it, and it might even look wrong, too low.
I don't think it'll look wrong at 4 foot.
I still don't get that jug handle thing. I don't.
But I
don't
think
have an
4
opinion.
feet is fine. And I think that it gives you a way to break up the fence so that your plants can even grow taller than the fence.
Okay.
And make it,
Well, we got a 3.5, a 4, 4'6".
Okay, well, and I'll momentarily be able to measure this.
Okay.
'cause I think in the front, where it's viewed from the street,
My thing is, if it's 30, 40 feet away,
90 feet.
it is, it'll look
Year to
smaller.
year, so that's probably about 60.
But
Oh, I'm almost there.
Okay. Starting to remember what my.
depends on what you're gonna need that space for back there. You're gonna need it for a dog that won't jump out.
well,
or
it's
you're
part
gonna
of it he wants for a dog.
So you think a 4 foot fence is gonna be tall enough for a dog?
Well,
Don't ask.
it. If they could stand up and look over it,
Depends on the dog, right?
Yeah, my
the
dog's a-
Chihuahua, forget it.
Yeah, they're bigger
Well,
than a
vegetation's
Chihuahua,
gonna
so
keep it
I want to
big.
make sure they can't see over it, because if they jump up and can see over it, they're going to do that all day long, and they're going to,
Right,
not just destroy the fence
exactly.
and landscape, they're going to make a lot of noise. So
Sure,
Well,
keep them
I
from
look at it
seeing.
as landscaping will deter that.
right.
Okay, so this I'm looking at here plus.
It's about in line with the back, right, of the house.
It's actually recessed from the original portion of the house.
No, but in line with the. Is
In
it in
line with
line
that-
with the rear addition?
That's the new addition.
Right.
No, it's in between them.
Mm.
It breaks off the corner. It comes, away from the porch in. So
What do you
know,
got?
you can
70
see it.
feet?
70
Pretty
feet.
far back. Pretty far back.
I'm just taking a midpoint of the addition.
Yeah,
here.
plus or minus a couple feet. That's pretty far.
So just to give you a quick understanding, we have.
So the fence doesn't actually intersect with the original house?
Well, it'll come into the side of it where I guess it's already approved.
But it doesn't run into the north. Does it run south directly into the northeast
No.
corner? It
No,
runs
adjacent
just
to the
east
west.
of it and then
Or, yeah,
comes
east
That
of it
picture
about
right here.
15 feet.
Yeah, because
Okay.
if you remember, you walk
So there's the
through,
front of that
and there's
house,
kind of
and
a
then
back patio area.
Yep.
So there's kind of a walkway.
I covered the house up, but right there at the top of the hand is the end of the house. So
Okay.
you got all that space, so you can keep the front porch view is
That's
what I was
right.
trying to get.
That's why I say it's really.
And I actually asked Mr. Gutman to cover it because he had some long-range planning of what to do with landscaping. And there were some creative ideas about a future patio, and I just didn't
sure.
want to complicate the issue. So I actually asked him to cover that up because that wasn't what we were asking to do.
Okay.
All right, well,
Then I'm fine with 4.6 then.
I don't care.
Yeah. My
I-
my opinion was I thought it was intersecting with this
No, it's
northeast
actually
corner,
further back.
And it's further back.
And
so
70 feet's more than most lots in that area, I mean, for depth anyway, so
I don't think
you
it's
might have to stretch
further,
to
but-
see it.
But if it was running right into that corner and it was, in plane with the back
Oh, yeah, that would be
of
a
the house,
problem.
yeah,
I could
that,
see
that would
that.
throw off the proportions
You
of the house.
realize
and
if
make
you
it
have a
look funny.
Great Dane, he could stand up on a 4'6" fence.
He could look over a 7-foot fence.
But I also see if this landscaping is going to exceed even 5 to 6 feet, that
Yeah.
fence will eventually get swallowed up.
Landscaping being taller than a fence is a good thing.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Anybody want to make a motion?
I move we approve
approve
With
what?
H,
And please indicate the height.
sorry,
Indicate the height.
oh, 4'6".
I'll second.
All right, Mr. Metzen,
Aye.
Ms. Toll,
Aye.
Chair McLaughlin.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you. This meeting's closed. Thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Go, build, spend money.
Oh, yeah.
Have
Okay.
lots of fun while doing it too.
So I'm going to open up the work session. I
Yeah.
think we can move through it pretty quickly. 'Cause I
Okay.
don't have a lot of. I need to do.
Now I get where you're coming from, but when I could tell it was back, but I just, yeah.
So I'm just not as smart as you. I could
No, I think
With
you're
that-
far smarter.
with that silly Post-it. No, that was good. That was good.
About the Ermitanger house, since that's what Mike told me.
We're passing on that this week.
So while we're waiting, Curtis, how do you enjoy owning a historic home?
I like it a lot. It's an amazing
It's
house.
it's an interesting house.
I think I was just blown away when I got inside it to see how nice it had been restored. I didn't expect that. We liked the outside, and then we asked to go in and look at it when we were house shopping, but I didn't expect it to look that finished and nice and restored.
Hmm.
So it was pretty. Whoever did it did it.
Handress did it. They did. I mean, the people doing that whole subdivision
Yeah,
did it.
yeah. Icon is that?
Yeah, Icon.
He could have done a little better job on some stuff on the inside,
Yeah.
but that's just me.
I
Yeah.
like how they did the new portion to kind of match. I mean, just the kitchen for sure.
Yeah, the kitchen's nice.
It's more modern, but.
You got a garage, nice garage.
Boy, did that take a long time to get. For some reason, because it's technically passed, this program's not letting me. It doesn't exist anymore.
Well, can we just rely
so
on you?
we're going to rely on me because this computer, it's done. It
So
already
I'm assuming
happened.
if we rely on you and if you miss something,
No.
that's okay.
Yeah. Well, and actually, the only thing you had as an attachment was a status report, commission report. So
Okay.
if you just Melody's, John Mellon, is recording. So if we want to start, we can actually upload this and attach it later. So if you'd just like to announce the work session.
I'd like to announce that we're starting the work session.
Okay.
I'm looking for my email, but I might have.
All right. Thank you, Chair McLaughlin. I wanted to give some updates on Preservation Month, starting in a week, National Trust Preservation Month. We take part every year. This Wednesday, we will have a proclamation. Next Wednesday, on May 2nd, City Commission meeting at 7 o'clock, we will have a proclamation read by the mayor utilizing the National Trust template, and we'll be giving out the Ruth Powers Preservation Award
What day was that?
this next Wednesday. Not tomorrow, but a week from now. So I will informally invite everybody to come, and somebody from the board will shake, which I will not name because it's a surprise until the night of the meeting, but the recipients will have the award. I do a nice little framed
Yeah.
award, and I'll show some before and after photos, and that'll get done on the first
So you want me to
meeting.
do that?
If you can make it, if not, if we could have somebody else from the Historic Review Board.
I got out of it last year. I can do it. I mean, I have scouts, but I can do it.
It's
What,
going
is
to be
it
basically
7?
from 7 to 7:30.
So it'll be the first.
It'll be first up. And proclamations are before citizen comment. Very smart. So a citizen comment that goes on awry won't stop the proclamations. They always start the first thing.
Okay. So here, 7 o'clock next Wednesday. Can you send me an email?
Yes.
I know I might have to put on some khakis or something. I've done that before. Who was it with the people for the Ermitinger House when I gave it to them, I think? It was a couple years ago.
Black tie affair, huh?
No. There won't be any tie.
So that's exciting. It's always fun. I think it's a nice feel-good event.
It is exciting.
The second Preservation Month activity, which we will announce at the second City Commission meeting of the month, will be the photo contest. So it sounds like it's moving forward. We were able to get in the utility billing mailer as part of the other planning. So there's some planning information on the front. It's a 1/3 cutout sheet. Some other planning information, and we got the back end. And it directs you to the Clackamas Historical Society's new website, which they're just uploading, and we are going to link to it. I think it'll be a good way to get traffic to their website. And so we'll be creating a link on the city's website, which will link to theirs, where the contest information and entry forms will be. A Clackamas Historical Society member and benefactor is going to provide prize money, which is very exciting as well.
Oh.
So we're working on the final numbers of that, but there's going to be 3 categories of youth, which will be 10 and under, teen, 11 through 18, and adult. And there'll be prizes for all 3, and the winners will be mounted and presented at the museum in July, and will be added to the Eddy exhibit for the time that the Ralph Eddy exhibit is being promoted this summer at the museum. So that's exciting, and hopefully some kids and some families. We're trying to work with the school district to get this information out before school gets out. And we are putting together a nice 1-page PDF flyer, which will get done soon, which will be kind of, I think, the way we send everything. Nice flyer, go to the website, the application information and all the rules, which are currently being reviewed by our attorneys, will be available. And so it's co-sponsored by the Oregon City Historic Review Board and the Clackamas County Historical Museum. I think it's a nice feel good, and the idea is see Oregon City's historic homes, structures, and landscapes through your lens to find Oregon City's hidden gems is kind of the angle, because Ralph Eddy, the photographer, often had a unique eye, and kind of we chose a photo of the flyer of a kind of unique angle of the Arch Bridge from the 1940s, and it's kind of neat. So. And I was able a chance to get a preview of the exhibit, and there's some really neat looking photos. Ralph Eddy had a studio here in Oregon City, but he also had a lot of photos from the coast and the gorge. And one wall that I think is fantastic, he did portrait photography. They put a wall together of a composite of all these different portraits of the clients. They just had the negatives, so they did it. So you walk and you just see this mass of different people's portraits from like 1910 and 1920. It's really neat. Just kind of the average, the family, the little boy, the soldier, the newlywed couple. It's a nice piece of humanity.
Wow.
So I really like that. And we're going to make the presentation to the City Commission will be at the second meeting. I think we're kind of break up the proclamation and the award the first meeting of the month, and then announcing the photo contest, because it's going to run through May and June.
Has the person receiving the award been
Yes,
notified?
He's been contacted.
Okay.
And the mayor knows the recipient as well.
How'd that go?
Good.
I'm sure he was excited.
So that's all I have for Preservation Month, and I think we'll work on using the Historic Review Board members on the choosing committee. So once we get closer to actually having submittals, we'll work on who wants to be involved on of the 2 groups that will choose the winner.
Got it.
Winners.
Cool. Okay.
All right. So the design guidelines for alterations and additions. If you remember, the last month we reviewed the redesign and kind of reformatting of the design guidelines for alterations that added the Secretary of Interior standards. You gave me a recommendation about landscaping and altering that one section, which wasn't really a a rewrite. It was more of a modifying.
Yeah,
when we
just
talked
modify the
about
sentence.
expansive landscaping. I have yet to do that. So that's what this update is, which I've been a little busy on other projects this month. But I have yet to really do any outreach to the McLaughlin or Kenema Neighbor Association. So I wanted just to formally let them know what it really is.
Okay.
And then this summer we'll adopt it by resolution, just so to make it all formal.
Okay. This popped in my head. Is there anything for next month?
Yes, we will be having a presentation with Brian Vaughn from Metro on the Kenema open space area. So he's been planning for months to be on that. I originally thought it was April, but it was always the May meeting.
Is that
Okay.
for a work session or for meeting?
It'll be a work session, 6 o'clock
Work session. But you don't have any,
I don't have any, there's no land use, but I don't know about grant applications till about 1 or
Another
2 more
week.
weeks. Yeah,
Okay.
because they have a shorter lead time.
Yeah.
But there are no land use applications in May.
Okay.
okay.
So the gentleman who came last time will be at the next
Be
meeting?
able to come back.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Brian has done this presentation to the City Commission and the Natural Resource Commission, and he's the project manager on it, so he has a full understanding of kind of the issues relating to the site.
Okay.
I wanted to give you if you recall, the 2012-2013 CLG grant was the multiple property submission working with Main Street. And I wanted to give you an update and have you give me a verbal concurrence that you agree with a little bit of change in tactic. And so I want to give you a little background. When I started scoping the multiple property submission and talking to Lloyd Purdy with the Main Street Oregon City, he had a little pause for caution about kind of jumping on it without letting property owners get a better understanding of the benefits of National Register listing, more than just the sheets you can give, and the tax credit. And he said you really need someone who knows what's going on. And I talked to Curry Gill at SHPO, and I said, could a portion of the grant be utilized to pay for a tax credit consultant who does this, to look at a property owner and say, based on what you say in your project is, based on your income stream and what your business model is, I see a tax credit program working for you, and a nomination makes sense to move forward. What you really want to do is not going to make sense because what you want is a lot of things aren't going to be projects. Parts that are in the approved for certified rehabilitation and don't count towards the program. Things like structural improvement count, but things like putting a new kitchen in wouldn't count for tax credit. So depending on what your project was, you might have different emphasis on things that are qualified or not qualified for the program. And then also, if in the next 5 years, you can be building rich and money poor. So if you aren't making a lot of money, you can't really take a tax credit. So truly understanding how you can take that credit over a certain number of years and how that may work with your business model, it may not. So we've had preliminary conversations with Jessica Ingram with Venerable Properties. Art DeMuro is a well-known downtown Portland developer who specializes in historic preservation and rehab. And he has now kind of expanded his business to also do, not only he does all of his in-house tax credits, but he has a consulting as well for property owners who want to take advantage of that. And we've had some preliminary conversations with Jessica Ingram about coming in and having kind of real brief one-on-one conversations and putting together like a 2-page report back to them, like based on what we heard, we think that this is kind of the money you could save for a National Register tax credit qualified project. Based on preliminary understandings of your business model, this would make sense. And that would be something that would not be shared with the city or Main Street, so they could provide her really specialized private information about their income. But she would send back to Main Street and the city an executive summary about how that went. And then that was the understanding of the people that went through that and had that meeting with her. They'd feel much more comfortable about moving forward with supporting a nomination for their building and help paying for it. So Lloyd was really felt that there was a step that was missing and that the CLG grant can pay for it. Not knowing how many people would be interested in meeting with her and how much information she can give back, because some people already know they want to do this, like 1 or 2 property owners, and they may get targeted answers to her, and some people may need to be more sold on the program based on her one-on-one with them, so she'll kind of target what she does with each property owner based on their circumstances, but there's only a finite amount of time she can spend. So what I'd like is kind of a confirmation back from the board is if this sounds good, because it could be up to $1,500 of the $2,000 grant. I mean, $20,000 grant, 10 from the city and 10 from SHPO that would be used for this. But I think if we want this to be a successful program, the more I'm thinking about it, I think this is a really good approach to make sure once we have those property owners, they understand exactly why they're doing it. And then they are also much more invested in helping paying for part of their nomination, because we're not going to be paying for all of their nomination.
And this is like a subset of the overall Main Street portion that doesn't include any particular building. We're just hoping to attract building owners to put in
Right.
their
So the idea
nominations
is
as
the grant will pay for the the kind of master document, multiple property survey,
Yeah.
and then with whatever's left over, because we think we have a lot of base information, so whatever consultant we hire to do this, they aren't going to be working from ground zero. They're going to be working with years of surveys and context statements that can already be a base of a National Register nomination. So we don't know how much money really that base document's going to end up, I mean, how many hours it's going to take to do that.
Yeah.
So, and we don't know how many property owners may be interested in getting the National Register, so we can't quite figure out exactly what kind of match will be. So it's really a combination of how quickly this consultant could do that master document based on existing information plus supplementing it, and then what's left over, dividing that between the property owners that are interested, but also expecting them to put some skin in the game and providing some money on their own. So that ratio really is going to be in flux until we get a better understanding of how many people we have and how much work we've already done that we can kind of use. And the idea would be that Jessica would meet with these property owners, get an understanding of who wants to move forward, and then I would release an RFP for just a preservation consultant to write the National Register MPS. And there'd be 2 different people.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think it's really important that we, I agree with Lloyd. And it's important that as, this gets out there, that we're pursuing that base document, that it doesn't affect their building so no one freaks out.
Oh, yeah.
And I really don't think there's going to be anyone beating down the doors or a huge line to try and get in here and capture the time with, that for that $1,500. I do think it would be a good investment. We've tried several ways to entice or encourage people to do it. And unless they see it penciling it, no one's going to do it.
Yeah, and I think what I think works really well here is we're taking it to the next step. In a sense, we're giving them almost free professional financial and
Throw it in front
advice.
of them so that they can at least.
And they have to
Take a
reject the graph that's given to them with the number at the bottom based on and she'll ask for inputs for them to give her before she meets with them one-on-one at their property. So she'll get to the site and she'll have kind of expectation of what their project would be, what they generally, their income is. And that's the idea, is we want this to be a private report back to them so they feel fully confident to share some of those information that they wouldn't share if they felt that we would get a hold of it. So really, we will just get an executive summary letter back from her.
Yeah.
Plus, maybe working with a letter of commitment. We're thinking of maybe doing a 1-page letter of commitment at the end of the process that have a property would say a non-binding letter of support to move forward with the nomination process, knowing that obviously they could remove that at any time, but
What
we
would
could
that-
get those letters and know how many buildings we're dealing with.
What would that executive summary entail? Obviously, it wouldn't be a capture of
No, it'd
these
be,
people
I
make this
met,
much in
I
rents
met
and-
with these
Okay.
people, and some fell out because of their business model. Some fell out because they really aren't going to spend enough money to meet the qualified expenses.
Okay.
That's the kind of thing that we're going to get back.
Yeah.
or these two people want to move forward. But it's going to be information back, but it won't spell out kind of private information.
Okay. And you mentioned Art. Were you thinking about bringing him in to consult as well, or just as
No,
an
because
example?
he's the bigger picture. Jessica Ingman works for him, and that's what she does. She's the tax credit specialist for
Yeah.
for rental properties. So Art would just be there. We thought about, do we ask Art to come in to do a presentation? And we were worried about, really working and paying for him to come or begging him to not pay him, either way,
Yeah.
and not have people show up. So we thought setting up a one-on-one would be the best way, and try to combine them into one day or one morning or 2 mornings so Jessica can come down
Okay.
and go from building owner to building owner on site at their building.
Okay.
And that, I think, is you're going to get the best response back from property owners than scheduling another meeting to hear another
Yeah.
And then if people don't show up, then we feel like we're a failure, and we
Doing
pulled someone
some
in.
major holding of hand here that
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
seem like, it's all good. I just hope
It's that one-on-one holding. Sometimes people aren't sure until you have.
with
this-
something like this, that's all the way you have to go to them. They're not
Yeah.
going to come to this.
Yeah, and you have to show them like this numbers that are
Yeah.
related, because sometimes
Make
you
it
can
positive.
say 20% tax credit, and you can give all these numbers and give the flyers and
Mm-hmm.
talk about successful products and show before and after pictures, but until you relate it to their project,
Yeah.
sometimes people don't get. And I think the other thing that she's really good at, I think will be good at telling, which if I tell it, people don't believe it, which is once you do a certified rehab, you've done all the work on the exterior building. You're probably never going to come back to me as a city planner for a local review. But almost all your review is during that time you're doing a certified rehab. And if you're getting tax credits, like we in the city in Oregon City are not going to deny something that's some extra alterations that's been certified by the National Park Service.
Sure.
Most likely. So if you're worried about kind of that regulatory aspect, we're not reviewing the interior of your work. The Petzold building is a perfect example. Herb Arbor did it. I've yet to ever be contacted because no exterior work has ever been proposed because they've just
Sure.
done their job. And it's just repair and maintenance from then on.
All right.
I'll probably need to. Anyways, NAOP on May 3rd is having a really interesting meeting that, if you.
What is that organization? Sorry.
NAOP. It's a difficult acronym.
Okay.
National Association of Industrial and Office Space or Properties. Anyways, they're holding a meeting or presentation about historic buildings and revitalizing those and everything that folks on Main Street may be interested in. So
Okay.
if you have some emails that you'd like to shoot out, I can shoot you the information about that.
Well, and then
and
Lloyd
also-
is doing the kind of he's doing the outreach to the property owners.
Okay, then maybe I'll shoot him.
Yeah, so you can do Lloyd. I think that's the idea is we're trying to make this as much of a collaborative, non-regulatory. So Lloyd, we've been putting together just a draft letter
Yeah.
of coming from him to work with Lloyd to set up a time, and he's going to be kind of the administrative go-between.
Yeah, and not to put down what you are doing in any way, I think when a city approaches a building owner or a developer and says, "We would like you to look at this," they go, "Where's
Yep,
the hitch?" That's the
absolutely.
automatic thing. But if you're able to, through Lloyd or some other avenues, point them in the direction of some educational bodies that focus on catering to the needs of developers or property managers, I think that would be a much more efficient way to go of your time. And
Like ULI things, you mean, or kind of that?
yeah,
Or?
yeah. Through the ULI, they could certainly invite Art in to speak about some of the issues that you're talking about. NAOP, this meeting that they're having on the 3rd is a good opportunity. So
Yeah, so we're holding out maybe a future meeting, but we just didn't
Yeah.
want to hold a meeting that we
Possibly
thought
no one's
this
gonna come to.
one-on-one would be the best first approach to property owners.
yeah,
Because there are people that are on the fence, and then so it'd be interesting what information do they need to get to the other side.
okay. Sorry, John.
It's
No.
the part of the project we weren't able to do when we tried it twice before.
Yeah.
It's the part that's really needed.
And a perfect example is Michelle Reeves was a consultant paid by Metro last year that did some work downtown and did those 2 case studies on the Bush Weinhardt Building and the Masonic Temple with Brian Emmerich. And everything that was coming out of her mouth was the only way you're going to rehab this is historic rehab. Their gap financing is too big. You're going to have to find other funding schedules. And she brought developers in that do historic rehab. And everything that I could say, she was saying, and just heads were nodding everywhere. So it was just really validating, like, yes, you're listening to her, go, that's fine, listen to her. So that was the only update I wanted to get. This all kind of came in the last month, and I started moving forward, but before we finalized anything, I wanted to get your concurrence.
Thank you.
Okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's fine with verbal, since SHPO has already signed off on,
Yes.
on a scope change.
Anything else?
Ermitinger House update. My photo with ARG is diligently working on plans. I will get you the date if you want to show up kind of in the peanut gallery, but she will be making a presentation to the City Commission in May to give them an update of what's going on. There will be probably some... So hard, because there are some decisions to be made, and the question is, can we look at options in these drawings that we can push off further decisions to a later date and kind of say, if you want to do option A, this is what you can do. If you want to do option B, this is what you can do, rather than having to make some tough programmatic decisions that I feel like, I mean, they're all correct in a historic sense, but there's different philosophies behind them. And I don't know if we quite have the answer right now to figure out what path we want to go down. So she's going to kind of make that presentation. I don't think there's going to be any decision made, but she's just kind of updating the City Commission on some of the issues and approaches. I mean, the one problem is that she's doing these plans based on it still being a house museum occupancy. Knowing that in her back of her head, like, what if it was changed to this? Would that change anything? If it was changed to this? So it's just how to, or if it was more of, in the future, what if it was ever rented out as more of a commercial office space? Does that change anything? And if it was owned by the Park Service, does that change anything? So she's trying to look at all potential end users, and then also how far. What exactly are we trying to show? Is it the traditional preservation model, which is everything that's over 50 years old generally has a story to tell and should be retained? Are we trying to restore it? What are we trying to repair? Maybe incorrect alterations that didn't quite tell the story correctly. Not as much outside. A lot of these questions are interior questions, finishing questions. So not knowing the end user, what some of the finishing answers we might not have. So she's retained Bill Hawkins, who has such a classical understanding of territorial age homes, and that's kind of his passion in Oregon City, especially classical revival homes and Georgian homes classical revival homes in 19th century Oregon. And so he has some passionate opinions, but not knowing this end user. And once again, none of them are incorrect answers. So,
There could
and
be
we don't know.
multiple options.
There's multiple appropriate options based on lots of reasons that might coalesce to a path, but we're not there today. So how do we look at these plans and use them as we move forward on this rehabilitation program? Because things we do know is there will be a full basement, most likely. And that's going to be a way to mitigate some of the unstructured fill and some of the issues. That's probably going to happen regardless, and there'll probably be an ADA ramp in the rear. So those things will probably be knowns, but there's some other things that may be add-ons or alternate options. So talking with the City Commission, and these are mainly interior issues, not exterior.
Yeah.
So if you put in an ADA ramp, what are you going to do about somebody with an ADA issue that can't go upstairs?
Well, you're just not going to go upstairs. And nothing's triggering it. So the idea, I mean, there's some work has been triggering it, but you provide accessibility to the best ability you can. And providing accessibility to the ground floor moves you closer.
Oh, no, wait a minute. For $800,000, to hit 25% of that, you could definitely put in an elevator.
Our conversations with our building division had a different analysis of how, but we've been
There's not a
working,
lot of
we've been
room for
working with
that.
our building division about what was triggering what, so.
So, well,
It would be
I'm
worth it.
I kind of don't understand why you can't approach it
$200,000 to put an
to,
elevator into
what,
that, couldn't
to rehabilitate it so that it could do what it
money
did
to do
before it fell
anything to it.
apart. And then if it goes to something else
But there's not a whole lot.
later, like an office space or something like that, and you cross those bridges when you get to them.
Right, but it's, what level of plans do we want her to
Someone's gonna
create?
scream.
And so, and I don't want to get into in detail because I'm not the consultant and I don't have that level of detail.
Right.
But I wanted to just give you a heads up that it's more of a it's more of a
Oh, sorry.
I'm trying to think of the right word. There's a little bit of chicken egg going on here, and so it's just trying to figure out
I don't know how these
how to
projects end up
best
doing this.
how to best move forward with the information we have to be as flexible as we move forward on future programming.
It just
and
sounds
understanding.
wishy-washy.
It does me
I don't want to
too.
make any kind of
But we
decision
won't
on
know
this.
what.
and-
But some of it's like that. But some of maybe details like the interior. Do we want to keep the interior?
Man, just make a decision and just do it.
You know, it
I don't. I
Which
just-
finish do you want to rip out of which room in order to
Yeah.
put something in?
You know.
Sure.
So I'm not going to get into detail, but I will give you the time and date if you want to attend that. It's not a work session with the board, but you can listen in, and so it'll be available on streaming video. Once
You can
it's
give
done.
my 2 cents worth.
But once again, all of these options, they'll all meet the Secretary's tier standards and they'll all be acceptable. So there's philosophical decisions and programming decisions.
We just
Okay.
don't want it to
Within.
fall down. We
Whatever.
just want it to stay dry and not
So.
fall down. And that's
Just
all
write
we
these
want.
philosophical decisions down. Next historic building I work on, I want to review those carefully.
Yeah, let's do something, man. Anyway, well,
So
thank you for that.
That's my update.
Thank you.
I've been
Yes.
excited to work with her, and I'm just pleased as punch as we move forward because she really gets a handle on all the little and the big issues.
Yeah.
If they need decisions to be made, they can call me. Okay, and that's going to conclude
it.
it for this evening. Thank you
What-
very
and what
much.
time are we to meet here
Oh,
Friday?
I'll be
Oh,
done.
Oh,
Do you want to, or do you want to drive by yourself? Because I'm taking the city Prius with. Oh, okay. So I'm going to drive Sydney down.
You guys are going? Anybody else?
Us three. So we're going to go visit Deepwood and Bush House beforehand. If you want to.